Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our wrestling podcast. So, without further ado, the following podcast is scheduled for 2 falls. And today's topic, the legacy of the NWO, Part 2.
WCW pulls off a major move for Bash at the Beach in 97. So we're talking a year later after, the big third man move. They get Dennis Rodman to tag with Hollywood Hogan and take on Lex Luger with the Giant in the main event. Because obviously the Giant has already moved back. I mean, okay, whatever. There's a lot of stuff there we miss, I guess. But this created huge mainstream media coverage, which further cemented WCW's place as the cool promotion. Was it good? Not really, but Dennis Rodman coming up, who's just such the black sheep of the NBA, joining that faction at a time is absolutely perfect for ratings. Is it not?
Yes, and it was everywhere. And, they started among wrestling purists. WCW was getting the name here where the undercard is worth watching if you're a wrestling fan, but the casual fan will stay for the main event because it's with the old people with the big names, and then they'll get the Rodmans and stuff or whatever. So it's like WCW was known as the company with two different things. You had this compelling storyline of the NWO that casual fans, and Hogan was at the helm, so casual fans would still watch, but then the hardcore wrestlers would watch the cruiserweights. So they were known as that thing. You're a wrestling fan, you can go ahead and shut it off by the main event. But if you're, a casual wrestling fan, you could watch the main event and you could watch everything. And yeah, the Dennis Rodman thing is not to be understated. It was a big deal for 1997 and a really big deal. They were the first promotion besides Vince, who obviously all the time got celebrities for WrestleMania. This is the first promotion in the US, especially besides Vince, to get a major mainstream star that sparked the interest of the casual viewer. Like WCW again. By this time as a fan, I thought, they're just doing the same shit every week. But they were on fire with the casual viewer, which every boom period is always fueled by the casuals. I know a lot of wrestling fans, the wrestling purists, the hardcores, whatever you want to call them, they get all mad and shit. And I'm important too. You're not important to them. You want to know why? They know you're always going to be around. Whether you like the product or you're bitching, you're a hardcore fan. You're always going to be around. The casuals bring the boom periods in. They bring the big money. This is fucking proof positive here. And then you go back to the rockin' 80s, same thing. Mr. T, the explosion, MTV relationship, Hogan being the guy. Like, it just kind of all worked out twice for Hulk. Again, greatest of all time. Reinvented himself twice. Fuck everybody else.
I have to admit, last night, New York City, you and I put Dennis Rodman through the NWO initiation, and we gotta admit, our afterburners are still smoking, brother. So all I gotta say, for all you NWOites out there, let's kick back to a little piece of footage to document.
It was getting redundant here if you're a wrestling fan looking for, something different every week.
Well,
however,
you would have to think eventually that someone else has to get a piece back and there has to be movement some way in the other direction. And this is where, like, you could even argue is nothing sacred. And I know I'm going off your notes a little bit, but I promise I'll stick to them, Jess. But I mean, Arn Anderson is legitimately hurt, and Arn Anderson can't wrestle anymore. Okay. And there's the famous My Spot, promo put on by Arn Anderson, where he literally gives his spot in the Horseman to Kurt Hennig, aka Mr. Perfect. The problem with that is, like, as soon as that happens, he churns coat faster than anyone you could possibly imagine, and also joins the NWO at Fall Brawl of 97. You're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, when are you going to see a churn of the tide? And you just never see that. I hate to say it, you can beat the shit out of somebody for so long, and eventually I'm just going to stop watching it. Eventually I keep driving by.
But
any
any habits, they say, take a while, right? Like even if a product starts getting bad on a high rated television show, it takes a while for the ratings to go down because the loyalists, everyone's a creature of habit. The loyalists will stay.
It was still high. It was still huge.
We'll get to it eventually. It's coming up quick, but the payoff with Sting was the key. And we're going to get to it, whether it was a success or it was a failure.
Well, that's right where we are. Like, it was clear that he would, this is in Starrcade of 97. He would descend from the rafters and challenge Hogan for the title. And, this has been his first match for 15 months. This is the climax. It was 17,500 fans in Starrcade 97. And everybody saw Sting defeating Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the WCW Championship. However, there's a ton of speculation of what happened in the back and what happened the day of, and it led to more questions than answers. Obviously, Sting did not happen with Sting taking the title on. And just that small side note, Bret Hart is already coming into WC by this time, fresh off of his Montreal screw job. This is crazy, crazy stuff that comes down here.
I don't know if anybody else wants to take it first, but this was... No matter how sick and tired you got of the NWO in 97, the same thing every week, the run-ins, the no contest, the DQs, the Sting angle had to pay off. It was the one thing that they had to get right. For everything they did incredibly at the end of 96, and we talked about it passionately about how good everything was, 97 was opposite a year later, and they were just relying on repetitive motion. They were just relying on that because they were like, Bischoff's like, my shit doesn't stink. No one's getting tired of my shit. Every week the ratings are going up, and they were still in the middle here of beating the WWF like a drum every single week. So why would they think anything needed to be urgent? Well, the Sting angle had to pay off. The buildup was great. Everything was ready. 17,000 people. Here we go. And they fucked the match up. First of all, the match itself was forgettable. They didn't do anything special. Sting didn't have any kind of passion of this guy that was held in the rafters for, whatever months or whatever. Hogan didn't really have any kind of like fear or fire in him. They did a by the books matches. And at the end, I'm just going to start off with this is what was supposed to happen. So Bret coming in from WWF after the Montreal Screwjob he was brought into Starrcade. You could have just brought him as a special guest referee for Sting versus Hogan, which would have made total sense. But instead, he was brought in as a special guest referee for Bischoff versus Larry Zbyszko.
And look at Bischoff celebrate. Bret Hart looking over the celebration. 7.5. 7.5. Now talking about that $1 million contract again.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bret Hart. Yes!
Yeah!
How about that? Yeah, there you go. There you go, Bret Hart.
Answered your question.
Yes, there you go. Bret Hart, tradition.
And it made no sense. So already I'm like, they're misusing Bret Hart. They're knocking him down the card. He should be the special guest referee of Sting and Hogan. Why would he not be? But they didn't do that. So, okay, fine, whatever. Bret debuts earlier on the card in Starrcade. He gets a big pop. He fucking is Mr. Good Guy.
Was that the first thing he ever did?
Yes. He was a special guest referee at Starrcade. Absolutely.
For Zbyszko? Oh my God.
Yep.
I have no memory of this. That's crazy.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Continue.
But the match between Zbyszko and Bischoff was for control of WCW. So obviously, not control of WCW, it was some kind of stipulation on the line. That's right.
Golf clubs.
If Bischoff won, it would become NWO Nitro. If Zbyszko won, it would stay WCW Nitro. That's what it was. So Bret goes out there. He does special guest referee. He makes sure there's no bullshit. Zbyszko beats Bischoff. All is good. Crowd cheers for Bret. Fine. So you get to Hogan and Sting later that night. Again, their match is underwhelming. Okay, fine. The ending's got to pay off. Fucking Sting has got to beat him clean in the middle of the ring definitively and end this shit. He's got to pay off for the 15 months up in the rafters. It has to happen. And you know what? Even though I could see it coming a mile away, that's what we all wanted and needed. It had to happen that way. It's basic storytelling. So here's what happened. Here's what is supposed to have happened. So they have the match. Hulk hits a big boot. Hulk drops the leg. Nick Patrick, who was a heel referee, which I left out of my notes. He was a part of the NWO earlier in the year as well. He was like the heel referee, which gave more heat to the NWO because now they have referees on their side. Anyway, About a month before this, Nick Patrick says, I want my old job back. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have aligned with the NWO. I want to prove to you guys. So the whole thing they built with Nick Patrick was that, I don't know if we could trust him. I don't know. He refereed a lot of matches before Starrcade, down the middle, did a great job. I don't know if we can still trust him. How the fuck did he get to become the referee for the main event of Sting versus Hogan? Oh man, this is drama that we got to tune in to see. Okay, I'm buying all of that. Sounds good. So Hulk hits the big boot, drops the leg. Nick Patrick counts 1, 2, 3. Sting doesn't kick out. Hogan wins. Everybody was like, what the fuck is happening right now? So yeah, that's what actually happened. Here's what was supposed to happen. Hogan big boot, Hogan leg drop. Nick Patrick obviously decides, I'm evil still. Fuck you guys. Gets down, does an obvious fast count. Sting kicks up, like, what the fuck just happened? You just totally fast counted me. They give the belt to Hulk. Nick Patrick obviously reveals himself as he's still a dickhead. He's still part of the NWO. Bret comes down, gets on the mic and says, I just came from a place that allowed this shit to happen. I'm not going to let this happen again. I am referee still. God. I am referee still tonight. Re-ring the bell. Sting gets in there, beats Hogan clean in the middle. Everybody goes home happy. Okay. I can get by that. But like I said, here's what happened. Hulk gets in the back. Hulk gets in the back and tells Nick Patrick, I want you to count normal. This is, there's been a million shoot interviews about this. It depends on who you believe. And Nick Patrick said, I talked to Bischoff earlier. Bischoff told me to do a fast count and to become a dick again, to turn heel again. That's the whole swerve. But then Bret comes out, stops it. How awesome would that be? Bret would get all kinds of great face heat for that. Sting would still beat Hogan clean. But what ended up happening was Nick Patrick said, Bischoff told me to do something else. Hogan said, I already talked to Bischoff. Trust me, I have control. It is what it is. Like, so when they went out there, when he was supposed to fast count Sting, in this fucking botch, they eliminate the entire 15 months and the drama that they build up. Big boot, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. A clean count. So everyone is like, what the fuck just happened? Bret still comes down and does the whole, I'm not going to let this happen again. But everyone's like, he just beat him clean though. Hulk pinned him 1, 2, 3 with the leg drop and Bret comes out.
97. And the main event of the evening, sanctioned by the Washington, D.C. Athletic Commission and the WCW. Tonight, we are going to witness the most anticipated match in the history of professional wrestling for the heavyweight championship of the world. Wrestling fans, are you ready? And defending heavyweight champion of the world, Hollywood.
And says, restart it. That's bullshit. He just lost. Like, he just lost. Then Bret Hart gets back in there. Sting puts Hogan in the Scorpion Deathlock, which is a tribute to Bret and to the old colorful Sting, and Hogan taps. How does that make any sense with what, and I hope I was clear on that description. What was supposed to happen would have been fine. Would have put Bret over.
Because they still did that, but it was still at that point.
But the one difference was Hulk got in Patrick's ear in the back and said, count normal. And Patrick thought, okay.
But that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't
stupid.
Sting kick then?
I don't know. That's a great question. That's an absolutely. I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. Because
if you're Sting, right? If you're Sting, a kick out's not in the script, right? And I don't mean to say that word. I know it's kind of a bad word, even though Dave's like, you say fake though, you piece of shit.
Script is
but
okay.
I mean, like, but if I'm Sting and I know that I'm not gonna kick out, it's just gonna be a fast count. It's gonna be an obnoxiously fast count. So to where it's like he didn't even 1, 2, 3, you know, that's what it was going to be. And so like Sting didn't have it in him to kick out because he wasn't told to.
I'm sorry.
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry. I keep going back to a segment I heard on another podcast. 83 Weeks is a great podcast. We all listen to it, and they talk about this. And I could have sworn that there was some speculation that they were saying that Sting didn't look good. He looked pale, which, by the way, I disagree with. I think Sting looks great here. He still looks in phenomenal shape.
That's irrelevant.
He looks tan. No. I'm asking because what they said is that everything went the way it was supposed to by day of. They knew the plan was Sting was going to win, but Sting had shown up, and Hogan starts getting in Bischoff's ear and says, "He doesn't look good, brother.
Yes.
I don't think this is going to work."
Good point. Yes.
So, I mean, can we elaborate on that a little
you
bit?
notice that, like, Bischoff's like a politician, and so is Hogan.
I'm with you. I'm trying to get that straight.
The question that I would ask is, so who told Nick Patrick what? But Bischoff's answer is, well, we got to rewind back to the beginning of the night when Sting came in not looking in shape or whatever. Okay, great, Bischoff, sounds good. Sting looked like shit, wasn't tan.
Which I disagree with. He looks good and tan.
No, right, but I mean, like, and it smelled like leftover beans. Okay, fine, whatever. Like, whatever. What happened to the end? You still obviously booked Sting to go over. Who got in Patrick's ear? Yeah, tell me. Let's talk more about how Sting looks like shit. Okay, Bischoff, you're fucking deviating from the question. Who the fuck told Nick Patrick to change the count? Yep, Sting looked bad. Okay, you're not going to answer my fucking question. That's what Bischoff does. That's what Hogan does. Brother, I don't know anything, brother. Bischoff was the guy who made that call, brother. I talked to Nick Patrick. I told him this or whatever, brother. But it is what it is. Okay, Hogan, did you tell Nick Patrick that Bischoff told you to change the finish? Look, brother, I don't know what's going on. All I know, brother, is that Sting, his head wasn't in it, brother. Okay, Hogan, fuck, for the love of God. Who told Nick Patrick? Do you feel my pain? It's like nobody wants to answer the question, the one question that will shed light on it. It's because they're all liars.
I guess my thing, liars. And I hate to, and it's true, they are liars. The one thing I'm still hanging my head on a little bit, Jess, is that when Hogan kicks out on Saturday Night Main Event with Andre, he does it at 2, and it's the same count, but they still count it, right? I just thought in my mind,
even a better point that you're going to make right now.
That's what I'm saying. Like even in my mind, that if it was a fast count, Sting would kick out after the fast count, like he would right at a regular 3, but he missed it because it was a fast count. I thought he would still kick.
Or to your point, they should have
when he doesn't kick at all. When he doesn't kick at all, I'm like, no, they changed it, and Sting was good with it, but that was not what was supposed to go down until day up.
You say all great things. You say all intelligent things, and I mean it. Like I don't know, and no one's ever answered it clearly.
It's still
to this
baffling,
day.
Right?
It's the way it was written out. If they did the fast count and Brett came out there and changed it, it would have benefited everybody. It would have put Brett over.
Did Sting ever comment on it? By the way,
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I've never heard him comment on it.
I'm gonna dig back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find that.
I don't know. What do you think, Craig? I don't know if Craig. I think you were over at my house, Craig, when we watched the pay-per-view.
I just looking back now, you can just build it yourself. It's just like save whatever Brett's going to do for Monday, and 15 months, like you said earlier, just give Sting the win clean as possible on Sunday night. Like it doesn't hurt anybody. Just give people that moment and don't force it. And then try to put Brett
hey Craig, you could even fuck Sting over on Sunday and have all the ratings for Monday and have Brett come out and say, this is bullshit, we're doing this over again, and have him win it on Monday and have everybody go fucking nuts and have the ratings go through the roof for the next 6 weeks to
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dave, because I didn't put that on my notes. So after this whole debacle, they actually rematched. They rematched the next night on Nitro. And guess what happened, Dave? The same exact ending, and I'm not lying to you. A normal 3 count, everything happened exactly the fucking same. I'm not lying to you. I wish I was.
So doesn't that say that that's Hogan then, right? That's Hogan not liking whatever. Yes. That doesn't work for me, brother, on Sunday. And the only thing he was okay with is that whole convoluted clusterfuck. And that's repeated on Monday because I agree with that also. And I'm not going to go through this again.
Yeah.
That's why I believe they changed it, and Sting said, okay, whatever you want to do.
This was, even more than the NWO sold out thing. That was more of like a behind the scenes, just kind of like, we fucked up. We shouldn't have made a branded pay-per-view, whatever. This was now the audience sees this. Now the audience sees this flaw. The payoff that you wanted all of us to invest in. We cheered Sting coming from the rafters for 15 months. He would come in every now and then, attack Hogan, leave, go back up. People loved it. Oh my God. Even if you want to bring Brett into the main event, I agree with you, Craig. I think you're right. Leave Brett out of it. Let Brett do something on Monday the next night. But even if you want to do it, if the fast count happened legitly as a fast count and Brett comes down, that's great for Brett. That actually would get people,
right.
You know, that's fine.
It was fine. You're right.
Yeah, I'm a referee from earlier in the night. I'm not going to. I just came from a company that treats their athletes like this. Fuck you. I'm not doing this. Fucking restart it right now. I'm the ref. Get in there, Hogan, you chicken shit. And then he grabbed Hogan and threw Hogan in. Perfect. Awesome. Like,
that'd be great.
But the one thing that needed to happen was the speed of the count did not happen because someone got in Patrick's ear behind the scenes, and nobody wants to. The guy, Eric Bischoff, the guy. I don't know. Wasn't Sting out of shape? Wasn't Sting not tan? Okay, that's irrelevant, Bischoff. Answer the question. Who fucking changed the ending? Yeah, Sting. His hair could have been conditioned a little bit more, I think, too, as a matter of fact. He looked like shit. Like, no, Bischoff, fuck. Like, answer the question. Hogan, same thing.
And I disagree. I disagree with all that. Just watching the video right now, I disagree with it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, leave Brett out of it. You're right. Make it clean. You're right. You're totally right. It's a great point, and all the points you brought up are great. I don't have an answer, is my thing, and that's why I'm
saying like even the way he looks, that's bullshit.
You're right.
I don't agree with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe Bischoff when he says that Sting was going through some shit, but like again, you still booked it for him to win. Does that make sense? If you didn't want, Sting's his mind's not into it, he's not mentally in it or whatever, you just book Hulk to win and you have him cheat. And that would suck. That would still fuck everything up and deflate the whole 15 months. But if you don't believe that he's a good employee for you, which I refuse to believe about Sting, to back up Dave's point, which is bullshit because Sting's always been game, then you make Hogan cheat to win. And then, yeah, like, Craig said and Dave said, the next pay-per-view, maybe Sting gets his revenge and wins or whatever. But you purposely built this to Starrcade, their big marquee show, 17,500 people at the MCI Arena. You fucking pay off. You deliver. When does
Sting win the title, Jess? When does he eventually win it?
They hold it up after the Monday Nitro rematch where they do the same fucking thing. JJ Dillon, who is the on-screen commissioner, says, you know what? I'm vacating the belt, and the winner of Sting versus Hogan at Super Brawl coming up in February will be the new champion. So they still did chicanery at that rematch, but it was a lot more clean, to their defense, and Sting ends up beating Hogan and finally getting the title in February of 98. Excuse me, 98.
Conan on the ring apron. All the troops are out. Look, Savage has come from behind. Savage hit Hogan. Savage hit Hogan. Hogan is down.
Savage did something. He hit him with something.
I believe so. Sting covers on 1, 2. Yes!
Yeah, okay. And that's where Macho Man would go on and defeat Sting.
For no reason.
At Spring. For no reason. Just Spring 17. And
it's actually for a big, you'll read on it's for a big reason, and we'll all see it when you read it.
Yeah, this is beginning to show the division between Nash and Hogan, on stage and probably in real life as well. So the next time on Nitro, Hogan would defeat Savage to recapture the title.
Oh,
this was the final straw for Nash, as he declared war on Hogan and told the other NWO members to pick sides.
What's he doing? My God, what is he doing? Bret Hart pulled Hogan on top of Savage. What's he doing? Bret Hart, 1, 2. Hogan wins the world.
So they sacrifice. So Sting finally gets his way and gets to go over at Super Brawl Fair, which is the right thing to do for the storyline. But Hulk's a cocksuck and probably politics for Macho to win the belt, not because he loves Macho and he wanted Macho to have shit. It's so I could beat you the next night, brother, and take Sting out of the equation. Since everyone's like, you're not beating Sting, Hogan. Like that's the whole storyline is Sting beating you. You cannot beat Sting. That's fine. Then Macho will beat Sting, and then I will beat Macho. Like that. God damn it. I don't know how I was a Hulkamaniac for so long. Like, he's an asshole behind the scenes, and he did it again. He found a way. It took another 2 months, but he found a way to loop back around and be like, yeah, get the title off Sting. Hey, Mach, I'm beating you the next night. Fuck me. Like, holy shit. Like, the wheels were starting to fly off the bus here in WCW. However, in 98, they're still doing record ratings and record business.
But on a side note, in 98, April 6th, Monday Night Raw would win the ratings from a 4.7 to a 4.6. And that ends the 83-week win streak of WCW. And we talk about this. We know there's a lot of channel flippers, and we were certainly those guys. We'd go back and forth. So it wasn't purely like 9 million people watching, but there was probably a good 6-7 million people watching. And this is the first time where Raw actually beats out Nitro to end that streak for that 83 weeks.
Cuz, are you there, Cuz? What match was that? I can't remember.
Mick Foley versus The Rock.
No.
Sorry.
It was not. Oh my God.
Sorry, zoned out. What's going on?
I gave you an underhand pitch. Jesus Christ. I don't even know. I can't even start with you. So no.
I thought you said
the first time that Raw ever beat Nitro was who was in the main event? Who drew that rating to get people to finally tune into Raw more?
Oh, Stone Cold Vince. God damn it. The one-handed Matt. The one-handed. Tie one hand behind your back. You son of a bitch.
The Vince and Stone Cold feud had become so hot that finally Austin was already champion here at this point, where he finally got Vince in the corner. He's like, you son of a bitch, you're the evil owner, you're the one that's been screwing me, I want you in the ring. And then McMahon said, fine, I'll meet you in the main event of Raw tonight if you tie one hand behind your back, then I'll take you on. And so that already, with everything getting hot, WWF secretly had been getting very hot. Even though they'd been losing the ratings at the beginning of 98, it was like astronomical. It was like Nitro would get a 4.1, Raw would get a 3.7. I mean, when was Raw in the threes last you heard? You know what I mean? Like, so Raw was getting strong, WWF was getting strong, and that finally that storyline caught fire, and Austin was on fire and became the second coming of Hulk Hogan on the other channel, and people just started relating to him about, yeah, fuck your boss up, get him. The payoff.
Okay, so ahead, Jess, because my mind's blown, because in my head I always thought how Cuss answered your question was Shivani, the moment they started winning the war, Shivani led him to go watch that guy.
That was something else. Yeah, that was different. Big guy.
Yeah,
so
I'll get to that.
When did that happen? I always thought that was the same moment.
A year later,
that was after.
And that was WCW's last breath.
Yeah, that was.
Just one thing. You said you could beat Vince McMahon with one arm tied behind your back.
I put it in the notes here. That was their last, they knew WWF was kind of pulling away a year later at this point. It was getting way worse in the ratings. And so Bischoff's like, yeah, and I don't want to give too much away, but no, that was a year later. This was the moment. It was Stone Cold against Vince with once Austin was
broke the streak, right?
That people were so hot, and it had been building for months. It wasn't overnight. WWF was sneaking up. Nitro would win 4.1 to a 2.8 before, and that was bad. But then at the end of 97, when Austin caught fire, all of a sudden you started noticing that, yes, Nitro was winning, but Raw was getting a 3.1, a 3.2, a 3.3, a 3.4. They were gaining every week, and then this was the culmination. So yeah, this is when it's ironic, 3 months after they blow the fucking Sting angle, which might have held WWF off for a little while longer, which would have been great for wrestling in general, because both companies would have still continued to swell up, right? So it would have been good for everybody, but WCW just could not fucking get the Sting angle right. In the meantime, on the other channel, they were doing everything right. And, Vince is the pro. Vince is the genius, right? He knew it. But that's...
And he's fucking massive, by the way. God,
yeah.
Vince is huge.
So I mean, that, I'll let you go, Dave, again, because we are running super long. But at the same time, that's a great question, Craig, because you're right.
We're not even to Wolfpack yet, are we?
We're right there.
No, we're getting there.
Right now.
We're honestly right on it. That's his own splinter of the NWO. It's called the Wolfpack. Their colors were black and red, as opposed to the original black and white. Those original members that came in with Nash were Macho Man and Conan, and they began to pull other members from Hogan's NWO, such as Kurt Hennig, Rick Rude, Miss Elizabeth, and a new member altogether, Lex Luger, who actually tries to immediately recruit Sting. And on the June 1st edition of Monday Nitro, Sting would swerve everyone by wearing a black and white NWO shirt, but then he would attack Hogan instead and reveal the Wolf Pack red and black colors on that particular segment.
I went, and that was one of the things I watched actually in preparation for this or whatever. That crowd went fucking nuts when Sting comes out and takes his trench coat off, and it's the black and white. The crowd legitly gasps, like, oh no, come on. Like, come on. Like, they were literally like, no, come on. Like, Sting, there's no way you can do that after all this stuff.
It's proof that should have been the payoff over a year.
Yeah, Hulk grabs him and that's a great statement, and totally true. So Hogan and Sting hug, and right when Hogan goes to break away from the hug, Sting clotheslines him, and that place goes fucking nuts. Like, it shows how hot both promotions here. Nitro was so hot back here still, even though we're talking about the missteps here. Like, they're still huge. And like, and Sting rips, he struggles to rip the shirt off, by the way. It's kind of funny. And then he finally rips it off from the bottom up and gets it to tear and goes with that. And then when it shows the red, like, the place goes even louder than it did before. So he was officially, this is when he wore the stupid red face paint afterwards, by the way, which I hated. But people love Sting, and they loved him in the Wolfpack. And this was like the face faction of the NWO versus Hogan's heel black and white, basically, is what they were trying to do here.
My God, he's got on the black and the white. And look at Hogan celebrate.
Oh, I thought I'd never see this.
Sting hugging Hogan. No, he doesn't. Sting decks Hogan. Sting is going to slam the giant.
Slam the giant.
513 pounds of the giant. Hold on.
He's getting rid of that black and white right now.
Sting takes off. He's got the red and the black. Sting.
He's Joey Nash. He's with the black and red. There's no doubt
Yeah.
about that now.
Yep. And WCW would go back to Rodman for Bash of the Beach in 98, and this would be Hogan and him teaming up against DDP and Karl Malone in the main event, which not as bad as it sounds, by the way.
No, and I just want to say to this, you don't realize the damage this did to the NBA and American sports fans in general, unless you go back and watch The Last Dance on ESPN this
They
last
were in the
summer.
finals, right?
You realize the damage that Dennis Rodman and this whole side gig of his and this hustle did to the Chicago Bulls, and a lot of
they were fucking livid,
money,
bro.
It was fantastic.
Oh,
And
he
I
missed
forgot all
practices
about
and
it.
shit. Yeah, he missed practices and everything. Yeah.
And they let it happen. He was with Carmen Electra, and they just let it happen. They were just like, Dennis is going to be Dennis. He'll be back. And he was. It turns out he was. Like, he never...
And posting up amazing rebounds, too, because Dennis Rodman was actually a good basketball player.
He always did his job when he was called upon. He needed to do what he needed to do. So,
but Dave, before you read that sentence,
not to mention,
go back and read the first
sentence.
He didn't have
to fucking the what?
You go back and read the first sentence there. I mean, I totally like the way you jumped to the Malone thing, because that's super important to touch on. But what happened on July 6th before that, Dave?
Yes, Malone can use the diamond cutter. And look at Goldberg. He's ready.
He's poised. Hogan goes down.
Okay, there's part one. Now finish him off. Finish him off.
He's calling for it.
This is it. This is it. Your career's on the line here. Do it. Do it. This place will erupt when he picks him up.
He's got him up. Oh, hell yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. We got a new heavyweight champion world. The first undefeated.
Oh, on July 6th edition of Nitro, Goldberg would defeat Hollywood Hogan for the WCW World Championship in front of 30,000 fans at the Georgia Dome. This was 1 week before the Bash at the Beach pay-per-view, actually. WCW would win the ratings that night, 4.8 to 4.0. These numbers are massive.
And that's why I wanted you to say that, because, like, good God, I mean, right? Like, think about that. Like, we're in night, you know, like, we're complaining, oh, Raw lost that week. Raw lost with the 4.0. Are you joking right now? Like, that anybody would kill to have half that in cable back at the time. And Nitro went to the 4.8. Are you fucking kidding me? And it just shows how big Goldberg was here too.
Monster.
And like Goldberg, but they did it. But this is, a lot of people criticize WCW for this too. They gave this match away on free TV. I'm not as opposed to that. I'm more opposed to they did it on the go home show before Bash at the Beach, where Hulk was teaming with Rodman to face Malone and DDP. You're muddying your own water. Like, Hogan was champion, that's fine.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just save it for the next pay-per-view and have Goldberg beat Hogan at the next pay-per-view? And to back everybody's point up, not have it on free TV, because you're gearing up for a pay-per-view a week later with two mainstream stars in basketball, Malone and Rodman, but yet you decide to get the belt off Hogan a week before. And I don't know, it just kind of muddied everything. Do you guys agree with that? I just feel it's weird. Like, they were just so rushing here.
Well,
like
Bischoff was fighting between what was more important, pay-per-view or TV, I think, too. There's a lot to be said there. And he understood that TV was inherently more important than what was initially intended. But at the end of the day, what is king, right? And now you'd argue that TV is totally king because it's just the network now. There is no pay-per-view per se. But back in those days, I think Bischoff created his own struggle there. What do? Where do you have this happen? Where does Goldberg take care of business? Is it on pay-per-view or is it in front of 30,000 people in a 4.8? I mean, seriously, that's is that the question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, am I nuts?
No,
that's the problem.
You're right. And we always talk about it in past episodes too. Bischoff was kind of changing the landscape here too. Before it was like you used your free TV as like an info commercial to get people to pay for because obviously more people are going to watch their free stuff on Nitro, right? Than pay for the pay-per-view. Yeah. But at the same time, that's what you want. You want to drive up pay-per-views on your free television, getting people's appetite wet to buy.
And let's be real, Jess. No one's watching closed circuit anymore. That's
right.
Gone.
And so, but Bischoff changed it. Bischoff was like, wait a minute, I'm actually going to use my pay-per-views to draw people to tune in the next night on Nitro. And for good or bad, that's just the whole industry. Right. Now it's all like that.
That's not a bad idea. Like, that's about, 15 years a little early for that, but like that's a strategy, right? Like, and it worked. Like, just have it reverse from what like common thinking, like, let it drive TV because that's where the future is going to be, kind of thing. Like,
and they're giving big money, right? Advertisers are giving big money, and then the networks like USA and TNT and all that are giving big money to have their show on there. So it's like,
for sure.
Obviously, I want bigger ratings. So when our contract's up, they're going to give me more money, like, for staying on their network. So it's like, no, I get it. You're right. And Bischoff saw it before Vince even did, I think, to a certain extent. And again, more credit to Bischoff. But here it just was so muddied because, like, I think Bischoff cared about ratings so much more than anything else. And when WWF started beating him, I think it bothered the shit out of him. So he was sacrificing good future storylines or good future pay-per-view matches and just giving them on free TV because I want to just win this week, just this week. And he did get that, but unfortunately, that's not a long-term strategy. And WWF would prove the attrition on that end of it and just power past them because they were thinking storyline-wise. They were thinking what's going to happen in 4 months from now. Where Bischoff was like, I just got to win next week. What are we doing next week? Did we win next week? And I think this is where Bischoff started to get burnt out here. And he talks about it a lot in his podcast. He starts to get burnt out from executives, and the merger happened here, and like so.
A lot of big contracts, a lot of fingers in the mix, and a lot of people saying what they want, and almost like he's losing a bit of control over what should happen and what's best for business. Kind of at this point, like there's a lot of egos to deal with.
He's burning the candle at both ends. He's the executive vice president, and he's a very popular heel on the on-screen, part of it. So it's like he's killing himself, literally. Like, he's burning his candle at both ends.
So the issues with NWO original, the OGs, and the Wolfpack, they go on for the remainder of the year. Small side note: WCW would win the ratings battle on October 29th, 1998. This is the last time they would win the ratings battle ever. That's it. And at Starrcade 98, Kevin Nash defeated Goldberg to win the WCW World Championship and end his undefeated streak. We've talked about this several times in our archives. Just a really bad move. I'm pretty sure Nash is in charge of creative at this point because Bischoff is burned out. Bischoff would also, by the way, defeat Ric Flair to keep total control of WCW. However, Flair would beat him in a rematch the next night on Nitro and become executive VP at WCW. And this effectively ended the NWO until...
Well, and before you
What
say
is
that,
it,
too,
guys?
actually, that just backed all of our conversation up about, Flair loses on Starrcade, the pay-per-view, for no reason. And then the next night he wins to get ratings. So to the thing you were just saying, Bischoff's all about, I need the ratings up because that's my advertising dollars and stuff. So it just proves
if Flair
the point.
loses on a pay-per-view and people find out about it, they're going to tune in for the rematch on Nitro the next night to see Flair get his comeuppance, right? So, yeah, that's it. So, but then you think the NWO is over until you get the lovely finger poke of doom.
This is it, Craig.
This is some horseshit. Yeah. So at the beginning of '99, WCW knew they needed to do something to respond to the WWF. They're pulling away in the ratings hard. They needed a spark. So why not go back to what worked in the first place? So on a January 1999 Nitro, live from the same arena where Goldberg defeated Hogan, a rematch between Kevin Nash and Goldberg was scheduled to the main event. This was supposed to be Goldberg's revenge and a chance to avenge the loss from Starrcade. But instead, we get this truly embarrassing storyline where Miss Elizabeth accused Goldberg of sexually harassing her. The Atlanta PD comes in.
He probably did it, to be fair. He probably did it.
He probably did. And arrested Goldberg. Hogan, who made his first appearance on Nitro since November because he didn't have to make that many appearances, he offers to step in and challenge Nash to settle the score between the NWO factions, red and black once and for all. When it came time for the main event, Nitro went to a commercial break. Right before they did, Bischoff decided to use an old trick he used in '95. He would read the results of a taped Monday Night Raw and attempt to keep viewers tuned into Nitro. And that may have worked in '95 because the stuff they were putting out in '95 was shit. Here, you want to know what happened? Here's what happened. You're like, oh, I'm not going to fucking tune into that. And then you were watching all these great new faces come in, right? But what they didn't realize, in my mind, is that people fucking love Mick Foley. So when they meaning WCW and not their announcer at the time, I don't want to give Shivani that kind of shit because he was told to say this, right? They said, oh, that'll put some butts in the seats. Mick Foley is going to win their version of the WWF title over there. That'll put some butts in the seats. And that was the biggest channel flip from one faction to the other, from WCW over to WWF ever, to see him win the title for the first time, because people were in love with Cactus Jack, Dude Love, Mick Foley, whatever you want to call it, right? And but what's happening on Nitro is that Hogan and Nash, they circled the ring, they faced each other. Hogan would walk up to Nash, poke him in the chest with his finger. Nash would bump from it like he was shot. Hogan would cover Nash for the 3 count and win the WCW Championship. Raw would win those ratings with a taped show. This is a 5.7 to a 5.
What just happened here? Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, the new WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Hollywood Hogan. The channel to our competition fans do not, because we understand that Mick Foley, who wrestled here one time as Cactus Jack, is going to win their world title. Gonna put some butts in the seat.
No disqualification. Hey, there's Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn on Shamrock. DX and the corporate team are going at it. Look out. What? Oh no, Stone Cold is here. Oh no, Stone Cold is here. Look out, there's our man. The rattlesnake is here. Look out. Oh, Stone Cold with a chair. He pulls mankind on the Raw. No! No! Don't do it!
Jesus Christ. But Mick Foley said it best on his documentary. He said, when you look at the numbers and then you look at the amount of people that changed over after Tony Schiavone said that, he's like, they might have won the ratings war that night, and they actually had a product that people wanted to see. And think about that, 5.7 to 5.0. Are you fucking kidding me? again,
Yeah.
like what fuck? Like these ratings are gigantic, but like it was the fatal mistake because Dave will read on here about how fast it just falls. And like, it's just, it was the last time. So they're in the Georgia Dome, right? The same arena that Goldberg beat Hogan months before. They don't even have Goldberg in the main event like he's advertised. They do a stupid, shitty sexual harassment or sexual assault storyline, take him out of the main event. They do a finger poke of doom to reform the NWO to try to get that formula back, to unite the NWO Black and White and the Wolfpack. So they put them back together here. Bischoff and them thought this is what's going to get everyone's attention. Instead of having Goldberg in front of his hometown, in front of 30,000 people, beat Nash to erase that bullshit loss at Starrcade. Again, it's like Sting. He needed that win. He needed that. That's what his character is. It's pure fire and fucking desire, and I'm gonna fucking get you. And like, so they 2 years in a row they fuck it up. Like,
there you go. I just realized though, like to your point, like they reformed the faction. Goldberg gets his ass handed to him. Luger puts him in a torture rack, which would never fucking happen. But whatever.
Yeah. As we're talking, I'm watching this. It's terrible. I hate Goldberg. It's awful. It's awful. I want to go to bed. But get this: if you're going to reform the faction, it should be black and white, right? What did they spray paint Goldberg's
in red?
Back
it's like they kind of became
the fucking red. Like you can't even get it right. Like you went to Depot and you picked the wrong fucking color, assholes. Like
he sucks.
What is wrong
Goldberg
with you?
Sucks.
Like Jesus, everything about it is wrong and stupid. And you've got Steiner out there. You got fucking Luger out there, which doesn't make any sense. You think Luger would be like, well, fuck, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. It's fucking nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make any sense. So, and the rest of 99, like you said, this is Jess has called it this several times. This is circling the bowl. You know, the swirls happen. The toilet's been flushed.
But think about when we last left them. Yeah. We last left them at a 5.7 to a 5.0. Still astronomical. The drop here is amazing. Like, it's sad. It's so bad. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah. So at this point, we Bischoff is so burned out, burning the candle at both ends. He's having all these executive duties and the on-screen character. He makes Kevin Nash. He puts him in front of creative in 99.
He makes Kevin Nash head of creative. Holy shit!
It's insane.
By the way,
and even
Vince McMahon has been burning the candles at both ends for 40 years. So
well, that's evident.
Just so everyone knows.
That's evident, sure. I can see that now as a problem.
How many years later, though? He's fucking 70-something.
That's true. Bischoff did it for 4 years. Like, get over yourself, right? After 3 months of confusing storylines that only serviced Nash and those close to him behind the scenes, WCW's attendance and ratings really began to dive. Eric Bischoff was suspended in September by Turner executives because of the ratings decline and attendance decline. And then in July of 99, the NWO was no more. Hogan would return to wrestling in his yellow and red by August of 99. Nash would lose a retirement match to Hogan at Road Wild. It's just... it's
no
crazy.
Hog Wild, David? No Hog Wild? The no motorcycles there?
It says Road Wild.
Piece of shit event. It
says Road Wild. I don't know. I mean, I almost felt like I read it wrong, to be honest with you.
No, I didn't mean to try.
You did.
That was, yeah.
Dare we say Hogan's the best and the worst thing to happen to professional wrestling?
It is a discussion that would need to be had. So, but I mean, we talked about he was suspended in September of 99 by Turner, but then he was brought back, right? I don't see that in the notes. They did bring him back for like a minute, didn't they? No, Bischoff.
Yes, he would come back and kind of team with Russo in the back.
He would come back to it. But yeah, I mean, there was like that one last gasp, right? There was an ill-fated attempt to reform the NWO at the very end of 99. The group consisted of Bret Hart, Jeff Jarrett, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. They would adopt the colors to the silver and black. The Raiders are awesome. I refuse to read what you fucking wrote here, Jess. No, you won't get that out of me. Go fuck yourself. And that group only lasted a couple of months. One thing too, I mean, I know we're going to discuss this little legacy piece here. The NWO was brought back one more time in the realm of Vince McMahon, but in the WWF, but it was purely brought back to destroy it. Right. I mean, that's That's why they did it. Vince won, so this is him getting his. He's just taking him to the shed.
I will
now
remember
and
the
showing
pop
everybody
though.
that he's
After people were already
on
leaving
top.
SmackDown, and Vince was doing his whole, "I'm going to inject the WWF with a lethal dose of
or the
poison," and me and when he turned around, that chair said NWO. The pop in that crowd, even though like almost half of the crowd had left already, because.
Talk about
Yeah, but
force,
still,
by the
hey,
way.
it got a great pop,
literally
though.
just came out of nowhere, just waiting for the contract.
Wait, so it was on SmackDown? It was like the
It was
last moment of
at the
SmackDown
end.
with just an NWO
It
image
was at
in
the
the back?
end, and Vince was doing a promo, and it was like everyone thought SmackDown was over already, so people started leaving, and then like that, you still heard that loud ass pop, even though a lot of the crowd had left already. So that shows you, NWO was still, people were still loving it, but obviously it was never going to be the same.
What I created, I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill my creation. I'm going to inject the WWF with a lethal dose of poison. If anybody's gonna kill my creation, I'm gonna do it. Me and the NWO.
Really like this concept that we're covering here, the NWO, was so amazing when we were discussing the 1996 era, right? The lawn dart stuff, the small details, the everything. And then we end up here where it just kind of peters out and like it just sort of like declines. It's backstage politics. It started with the fucking up of Sting and then the fucking up again of Goldberg. And like they just couldn't get out of their own way, and politics are bad, man. Like, the contracts were terrible and bad. And like, I don't know what else to say, like how to end this. It's like, it's one of the most famous factions ever, if not the most famous, but like the end was so fucking sad and brutal to watch. And God, like, I don't even know.
I'm
like,
disappointed that we didn't talk about another blunder, the Warrior debuting against Hogan in WCW.
Well, you're right. No,
And that's a big
I
blunder.
considered putting that in too. Yeah, that
That's
was a big blunder
that
as
should have been
well.
talked
Then
about,
you're right. Yeah, the
fucked
NWO
up.
was still a thing here, and yeah, they brought the Warrior in, and that was awful, and that's considered one of the worst pay-per-view matches of all time, by the way. Warrior versus Hogan and Halloween Havoc '98. We were there live, and we all groaned together. It's just
Are we talking about
Yes,
One World
but
Nation?
the moment of
Warrior
Warrior
Nation.
debuting on
Nation.
WCW Nitro, that was a pretty cool moment.
No, it was, and
Hell
they had
yeah.
they had a lot of bright spots in there in '98 for sure, and they still were putting crowds in the
great.
buildings. But that's another one. Besides the ratings, to watch the crowd like at 30,000 people in January of 1999, and then at the end of the year they would rent an 8,000 seat arena and barely put 2,000 people in them. And like we went to Halloween Havoc 2000. And Craig has that famous story that I think I told in our first episode ever about Jeff Jarrett fucking with him. They went to the Irvine.
That wasn't cool.
Like the
It was
Irvine
not cool.
Civic Center. They had Nitro in the next night, and that only held like 8,000 people. They barely got 1,500 people in that building. And like, it's so sad. It's so sad. And it all.
And no tickets for us, by the way. Will call.
Jeff Jarrett promised us free tickets and then pretty much said, fuck, I was just kidding. I'm lying, which the joke's on him because 1,500 people wah. But like, I mean,
I wasn't going anyway because I was super hungover, asshole.
so I don't know, I
sending
don't
us
know how
a
to
Jeff
end
Jarrett.
this in the sense of like, God,
All
Do
I
it.
remember from that story, which I believe is in our archives that Jess tells, is says, "Hey, sober up,
Yeah.
bitch." Jeff Jarrett to Craig.
You can pick the music, Mr. Jarrett. I will just drive in you whatever song you want to play. And then Jarrett goes, I'm honestly considering this. I swear to God.
yeah.
To like Jeremy Borash or
I
whoever he was
swear
talking to. I'm such an asshole.
So yeah, I mean, like, what do you say? I don't know how to end this because I think it's appropriate that we don't know how to end it because look at the beginning. Look at what they meant.
I don't think they knew how to end it.
No,
either.
you're totally right. The NWO meant so much to wrestling when it first started out. It changed everything. It really did. Bischoff did a lot of things that revolutionized this sport, and he deserves credit for them. Hogan reinvented himself. Hall and Nash reinvented themselves. Like, it just Sting with the crow gimmick that he still wears to this day, is all, oh my God, like, everything was so legendary about it. And there were so many legendary spots. But as we talked about the 98, 99 era, it just, I don't know what happened. And there's a lot of stuff we could talk about. Bischoff talks a lot about it on podcast. Stuff was happening behind the scenes. The mergers were happening. So all his top executives changed. One day, Bischoff he's right next to Ted Turner. Ted Turner's like, whatever you want to do, kid. The next day, it's a fleet of corporate execs going, why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? And how come you're saying this? And that sponsor's offended. And that's this and that. And then Bischoff has to deal now with all of this stuff while he's an on-screen character, while a vicious Monday Night War is going on. He's got to answer to, I don't know why he said, damn it. I don't know why he said that. I don't know why he alluded to this. I don't know. Well, your sponsor's not happy, Bischoff. You got to fix it. And he was facing all of that. So in his defense, in 98, it got really rough politically in the back. On top of the shitty contracts that he gave, well, not shitty for Hogan, Hall, and Nash, but the shitty contracts that he would give wrestlers like that with creative control, with elevating pay scales, where if somebody else got hired,
limited dates.
Yeah, limited dates. Yeah. When, like, for example, when Bret Hart got brought in, Hall, Nash, and Hogan all got raises because part of their original contracts were if they're not in the top tier or the top 25% of the paid talent, then they required that raise to bump them up. So when Bret Hart came aboard and got that massive $3 million deal, $3 million a year deal contract, Hogan, Hall, and Nash all got bumps up to match that tier, if that makes any sense. So WCW was just fucking throwing money out to people, and even if they didn't earn it, even if they were faking knee injuries and not showing up to house shows, Kevin Nash, excuse me, I have allergies this week. So people in Hall just getting fucking drunk and leaving TV for a while and fucking rehab and all this stuff, he got paid every cent of it, every penny of his fucking contract. And that also fucked them over. They have these guys they're investing so much money into that have the name power, but they can't use them. It's just, already we've gone 2 hours, right, in this single recording, and all of that still happened that we never talked about because that's another episode altogether. So it's man, the NWO started so much shit, didn't they? It's the best angle and the worst to ever happen to WCW.
Well, you can also argue the fact that there wouldn't be a downside guarantee for wrestlers now in the major federations without the NWO because they had Vince and the team had to do that just to be competitive. Look, this is the least amount you make, but if you do well and you're on more TV and you're in more main events, you can make a lot more than that. But here's your downside: even if we don't use you on television, you're still going to make this. Even if you you just have to come to shows and see what your involvement is, if anything. That wouldn't exist without the NWO and without the change in WCW. So it brings around a lot of good things too. But it also brought around some bad things at the time. And that's why you didn't see those three guys wrestle, some ever again and some not for a really long time, because they got to sit on those guaranteed contracts for many years later before they even had to set foot into the WWF, because they weren't coming in.
It's a whole different subject for sure. It's crazy. So
they were sitting at home making a ton of money.
To end it though, nothing. I want to bring Cuz into this and Craig as well. Cuz I know you were younger. What did the NWO mean to you? I know you talked about how you saw Hall come out and it changed. You're like, what the fuck's happening? What do you feel about it looking back at that whole run? Everything they did.
Still one of my favorite times in wrestling ever. Other than, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin, but man, the first bad guys were even I, as a kid, who was always, taught bad. These are bad guys. You're not supposed to like them, and blah blah blah. Not from wrestling, but just in general. They made me love bad guys, man. They were a big impact. A lot of the stuff they did is just like I said earlier about some of the things when Hall coming out and some of the words that Hogan said when he became a member of the NWO, and some of the things that he said ingrained in my memory. Almost everything they did, even the shit show that they put on when there was too many members in the NWO, all of that stuff is ingrained in my head. Big influence on professional wrestling. Big reason why I love professional wrestling. And I'll still go say Hogan's probably one of the greatest heels of all time.
Is the greatest wrestler ever. So, thank you for saying that.
Big influence.
So, thank you. Craig, what do you say?
When you're a wrestling nerd, it's always awesome to be in periods where the mainstream comes along with you and you see the NWO t-shirts and people who weren't interested and will be interested in 2 more years connected with you on the street, or it just became like TV guides. You'd have like a collector series of 4 different TV guides that you'd get in the supermarket and grocery store, and it'd be that mainstream where it was everywhere. This was one of those periods. And it was always cool, but it was also emblematic of everything that was wrong with WCW, from not controlling when things needed to be controlled to letting kind of everyone backstage kind of rule the roost. But for all its good and bad, man, changed the business forever. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad between the different NWOs and every week, and a lot of spray paint. But at the end of the day, you cannot discount the impact that NWO had in wrestling and mainstream media and popular culture, and frankly, even before the Attitude Era really kicked in gear. So it props.
And ladies and gentlemen, there was a time period in wrestling history where Vince McMahon was not Kingfish, and that was due to the NWO. I think that sums it up perfect in the sense of like, that storyline for that one time, the only time period that Vince hasn't been king was because of the NWO. I mean, I think that's the way it should be remembered.
Yep. Hit us up on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Click on Linktree. You can find us on several platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Soundcloud, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcast. And don't forget, we're also part of the Wrestle Hub family, all about wrestling podcasts. Catch them and us at the Wrestle Hub on YouTube and Instagram. This is Dave, Jess, Cousin Craig with the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one.